T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to the New Breed on the Block series. My boy Diego. What's good, Diego?
What's up?
Damn, my homie in the building. Guys, if this is your first time tapping in, do your boy a favor. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. That way you're on top of every single piece of content we drop here on the Trap Talk Reptile podcast. I want to say shout out to all the early birds. I see you guys right now. Before we get into things, I do want to say tonight's episode is brought to you by Rare Genetics Inc. Shout out to Ben and Sean over at Rare Genetics Inc. If you have shed skins that you need to get tested with ball pythons right now, the time is to do it. So make sure you head over to Rare Genetics Inc.'s website, place that order. And again, shout out to Ben and Sean. Make sure you follow them on Instagram and head over to YouTube and subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. Again, shout out to Rare Genetics Inc. I also want to say that tonight's episode is brought to you by my homie Shelby MERSHON over at MERSHON's MORPHS. My boy Shelby. Definitely taking names in the ball python game, man. So please go head over to his Instagram and check out his morph market and his website, mershonmorphs.org. Shout out to Shelby. Thank you for the love and support. I appreciate you. And yeah, man, go check him out. It's definitely stuff you don't want to sleep on. And then also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Focus Cube Habitats, #1 enclosures in the game. Appreciate Stephen and Ashley so much. Flex in Texas all day, every day. And everything you see behind me is made by Focus Cube Habitats, and that's a fact. Listen, Diego, my man, we did some work today, huh?
Yeah, got put to work already.
So if you guys, it's hard to see, obviously, and I don't want to tilt the camera, but we stacked another Focus Cube Habitat enclosure on top of these behind me. So I'm damn near like less than a foot away from the ceiling.
8 feet tall.
8 feet tall, yeah. So it's pretty epic. Yeah, man, listen, I do want to say that thank you, Diego, first and foremost, because I got to say, you've helped me out a lot, man. And it was kind of a blessing how you and I met, because it's definitely you reached out to me, but then you happen to be like not far from where I live. I mean, like an hour away, right?
About 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Traffic, yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this, man? Like, I'm curious, like at what point did you even stumble across the reptile industry as far as like seeing people, breeding and turning into businesses and all that? Like, when did that hit you?
Well, what got me into reptiles, I got into them pretty young. So when I was probably in elementary school, like 5th grade, I got really interested into like frogs, and my grandparents actually took me to Triple L Reptiles in Oceanside back when they were at their old store that was like really, really small.
Was that Mission Gorge?
No, it was in Oceanside.
Oh, it was in Oceanside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was right off Mission, right by the beach. They're still in the same area, but they used to be in a lot smaller, like a very cramped spot from what I remember. And there I picked up some firebelly toads. Those were my first pets. And then from there, I got a pair of Russian tortoises, and I had those when I was young. And I had them until they both died. I forget what they died from, but probably not me taking care of them right. But, I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think that first reptile I had wasn't even a snake. I had a turtle. I got a turtle. And then my little sister left it outside. Like she took it out of the tank and just like put it outside. And then ended up crisping outside.
Yeah, I would take mine outside and leave them in the backyard, but I would watch them for the most part. But then after that, I took a break and then got back into reptiles. Probably when I was in high school, I got really into bearded dragons. So what got me back into them was my cousin had gotten a corn snake, and I wanted to get a snake, but my dad, he didn't like snakes. So I was looking on the internet for like stuff that I could get that wasn't a snake. So then I fell onto lizards and I found bearded dragons. And then I kind of went crazy with those for a bit. And I had, at one point, I think I had like 30, including babies. So 30 bearded dragons. And this was probably my
high school.
Yeah, my junior, senior year of high school.
Damn, that's cool.
I was doing those pretty tough. And throughout this time, I was still going to reptile shows. I used to go to the Super Show when it was in San Diego.
Oh, shit.
At the convention center when it was super packed.
I missed the San Diego show, even though San Diego shows never hit the same as like a Pomona or like an Anaheim.
No.
I don't really know what the gap was. I always felt like it was, I don't feel like enough people who are really tapped into the industry really went to San Diego.
Yeah, I think it was just more so
More
the
of a local
location.
show.
Yeah, it was like a lot of local people from what I remember, and then it was really small and like really cramped compared to like the Pomona or Anaheim show where it's massive, you know. So you can't really compare those two, even though it was a lot more convenient having it closer to home, and it's really cool being in like downtown San Diego and everything.
I just like, because I always thought like, all right, cool, like I'm going to Pomona, I'm going to Anaheim, and nothing against those cities, but I'm like, what the fuck, like San Diego, like why don't we have this shit in San Diego? And I do want to say the number one thing that did suck about going, and I love you, Rami, I love the Reptile Super Show, shout out to the sponsor, but one of the biggest things about going to Reptile Super Show in San Diego was the downtown parking.
Yeah,
because it was in the smack middle of downtown in a weird convention center. Is weird, bro.
Yeah,
like,
it sucked.
It wasn't the actual convention center.
Yeah.
Which I feel like if it was,
It
it'd
would
be
be a lot
different.
better. Yeah.
Right. But it's like the inner convention center. It's
Yeah.
weird.
When I first started driving, that was like one of the first places I drove to, and driving down there, I was so stressed out.
Yeah, it's just but you know, either way, hopefully the San Diego shows could make a comeback or something, because that would be sick to have like an actual like home show.
Yeah,
you know,
especially since Rami's from here. He's from San Diego. you
yeah,
know?
born and
That'd be
raised.
really cool.
Rami's a G, man. Shout out to Rami. Now, like, I'm curious, man. Like, so you know, you out of high school, like, what was the deal with you and reptiles? Like, did you always knew you wanted to hold on to the reptile hobby and like keep it, you know, as part of your life, or did it kind of like disconnect and then reconnect again?
Yeah, so that's pretty much like the story. So, you know, when I was young, I had some and then got rid of them. Reptiles, you know, they passed away, was doing other things, got into playing sports and stuff like that. So that
Right.
took a lot of my attention away from it.
What
In high
sports you
school,
play?
I played soccer growing up.
Damn.
That's it. And then, yeah, so growing up and then back in high school, I got back into it. I got into it pretty heavy, you know, bred bearded dragons for a bit. And then that was around my senior year. So when I was deciding to go to school or stay home, and I ended up just, you know, getting rid of everything I had and focusing on school and work and stuff like that. And then the interest just kind of went away, or not even went away. It was still around. I would still keep up with stuff. I would still watch like YouTube. I still followed people that had reptiles and stuff like that. I just wasn't as into it as I was before. And then once I got older and I started making my own money, and then it was pretty much during COVID, like right before COVID or during COVID is when I got back into reptiles again. And then I had my own spot, and then just decided to get back into it full tilt.
Now, you know, out of high school, what kind of job did you have? Remind me, like, what were you doing?
My very first like official job is I used to set up soccer fields at a complex. There's 2 locations. One was in Del Mar, and then the other was in Oceanside now.
Setting up soccer fields, like
Yeah.
like on like what kind of soccer are we talking
So
about?
it was big, like for sure, like big youth tournaments. For big youth tournaments. So there's one. It's called Surf Cup. It's a big tournament that's held down here, and a lot of kids go down there and you know, play, and they just go to get scouted by a lot of big schools, big name schools. So and then they would just have other tournaments, local tournaments that were held there. So there's probably like 20 to 25 fields that we would set up and stuff like that and do all of that.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because like my thing in high school was baseball. You know, like baseball, football, but really baseball was like what I was trying to make a name for myself in.
Yeah.
And I played, obviously I played college and it like a year and a half, but like I still tried everything I do to kind of stay like, yeah, because you just never know, you know, even though it's like, all right, bro, ain't nothing gonna happen in baseball. Like you're hurt, and it's like you're already turning 21, like you need to like accept
time
it.
to grow up.
But I remember I would still ump some games and shit like that.
Yeah,
It was always cool. Like, and mind you, man, it's been like over 20 years since I was on a baseball field. Now that I have a son, I feel like that could be a possibility to get back on the field.
100%.
But I feel you, man. It's so do you feel like, you know, and you grew up in Oceanside, or where'd you grow up?
So
at?
I was born in Oceanside, raised up until I was 7 years old. My parents we all ended up moving. Our family got pretty big, or bigger at the time, and we ended up moving to Menifee. And then when I was 14, so right at the middle of my freshman year, we moved back down to Oceanside. But every weekend we were down in Oceanside, you know, growing up. So I pretty much grew up in Oceanside and just lived in Menifee.
I got a good friend in Menifee. You might know the name.
Matt Summers.
Matthew Summers.
Yes, sir.
Way to go, Matt, on just being an amazing person. I don't know what I was going to say, but I like Matt. I love
Yeah.
Matt. I just can't help but to smile when I think of him. Whoa, that's not weird, but I'm just saying, Matt's my boy from Menifee. Another good, huge, like, support and homie of mine. But yeah, so being established at Menifee, then you went back to Oceanside, right?
Yeah, came back down to Oceanside.
And what do you do for work now?
So now I'm a ride mechanic at Legoland.
Okay.
So I've been working there for going on 8 years, but I started I started working there when I was 19. So after the soccer fields, I actually went to go work at a veterinary hospital. So I was there, took care of animal boarding. So I was there for about a year.
So you tried vet school for a little bit.
Well, I wanted to actually become a vet. That was my original plan. So I've always liked animals and wanted to do something regarding animals. Like my grandpa has a ranch right now up in Murrieta. So I've been around, livestock, reptiles and stuff like that, like my whole life. And I wanted to go in to become a veterinarian, but then it's just, things happen differently. Life happens.
I mean, it's definitely not like the schooling and the money behind becoming a vet is so fucking ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you become a vet, you don't even really get paid like a doctor does.
Yeah. And that's like one thing I kind of realized working at an animal hospital is I kind of saw all the goods and the bads from it. So I worked in the animal boarding. So when people, would drop off their dogs for like a day, like sometimes like daycare pretty much,
right?
Or like overnight, they would go on extended trips.
So you're just watching the dogs.
Yeah. We would take them out, take them on walks, feed them, water them, all that good stuff. And then I would also help a little bit with like the hospital side, like typically when there was like bigger dogs, because there was a bunch of women working there and they can't pick them up or wouldn't be able to hold them. So that was kind of my job.
Now, I mean, dogs, bro. I mean, I always kind of have a special place when it comes to dogs in my heart, but I think that's like a whole nother like level as far as what we're talking about tonight with reptiles.
Yeah.
Like even like breeding.
Yeah.
Keeping, like all that shit with dogs is like it's a whole nother like beast.
Yeah, and I've done that a little bit too. My dad, he got really big into pit bulls when I was growing up as well. So we had a couple litters would be the word. Yeah, litters of puppies.
Yeah.
And taking care of those. I remember he had like this big blue book that was pretty much like what to do, like how to get ready for having puppies. And I read that thing like cover to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like anytime he had questions at the time, I can't remember it anymore, but at the time I would be able to answer like all the questions he had or what are we supposed to do now type stuff. And yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So speeding things up to right now, like what's kind of your biggest goal in the reptile industry? Like now that you've connected with me, I've connected you with a lot of my friends, and you're definitely like making really awesome relationships within the hobby. But what is it that interests you the most? Like, what are you looking to do right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to start on that is I just want to say thanks because you've been a real big help and like a big influence in everything that I've done. And, you've introduced me to a lot of people, a lot of the people that are here in the chat. I think I saw Benny. I think I saw Adler in the chat.
Yeah, you got some homies, man. Shout out to everyone in the chat, by the way.
Shout out to everybody.
But obviously I have like my own way of starting the show, but we rushed to get this show started.
We were working until the last minute.
Yeah, we're looking at the last minute of turning the lights on. So like, my bad, guys. This is a little unorthodox, but just so you guys know, you're like, well, what's happening? But
we had work before
we had work. Yeah, we were fucking getting to work and making sure we could catch this live. But yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. Not crazy, but how amazing it feels to have friendships within something that you love to do that you wouldn't have these friendships if it wasn't for the hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really interesting because like thinking about it, like when I used to go to the shows, like as a kid, it's like I would go and just was kind of one of those people where like, people would say, oh, like, are you interested in anything? And I'm like, no, like super shy and like kind of intimidated to talk to people.
Yeah.
And even now, like I'm kind of hesitant to like introduce myself to people. And I guess the word would be kind of self-conscious, I guess is the word, because I don't want to sound like
you're talking out of your ass. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't like speaking on anything. Like I'm not 100% confident in what I'm saying. So if I don't feel 100% confident, even though I may be right, like I won't say stuff. So like when I've met everybody, like I guess at this year's, not really Trap Fest, but the gathering we had this year.
Yeah, it was like a super dinner. Yeah, it was a trap dinner.
Yeah. So meeting everybody there, like it was a lot of people there. Like who's there? Levance.
Dude, shout out to
Jaffe, all the guys from from Canada, and who else? Dragon Soul, I forget his actual name.
Patrick.
There you go. Yeah, so meeting like all of those guys, like I was kind of really quiet, or even Antoine. That was the first time I ever met Antoine. I was just really quiet, like kind of just listening to the conversations and taking in all the information and just like getting to know the people, but without really talking, which is kind of weird, I guess.
It's funny you say that because listen, like I mean, obviously you guys know I love talking. Just like even. And I don't know, man, it was just something where I get excited and I always want to say something. But this industry or this hobby was the first time where like I know it's better just to shut up and listen and then at least have the experience before you speak on it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you always think about how like even the people who've been in this for like 20 plus years, they still learn shit new every day.
Yeah, nobody knows everything.
No,
like that's one thing that I've I've learned outside of this hobby is like when you think you know everything is when you
It's
don't.
when it goes down.
Yeah, that's when you start messing up.
And I'm so okay with like learning, like, obviously fucking up sucks, right?
Yeah,
and I always say
part of life.
it's okay to fuck up. You just don't want to continue like to repeat the same fuck ups. But like there's so many things to fuck up in this industry, like but that's because it's meant to happen, so you learn from it.
Yeah.
And it's something where like not even your closest friends could teach you what's about to happen. It happens the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, there's some things you just have to experience in life, and
but
some of them suck and you don't want to experience them, but it's just how it goes.
I would say the biggest thing that was taught to me, and it was hard to like accept and understand, was like when you're taking on like an imported animal, right? And you just like, there's just signs that animal's not going to make it. Like, that's like, dude, like you're wasting your time. Or first and foremost, like you shouldn't have this animal around your other snakes or anything like that. And like I was told from the beginning that chondros aren't for the faint at heart. And I was like, kind of like, I heard for what it was, but man, is that true? Like, it's brutal, but it's also like, there's so many beautiful things about keeping chondros too. But like just certain stuff like that. Like, I mean, I rest in peace, Forrest Fanning, but I've had hour-long conversations, like, I don't know how many times with Forrest, and he would just be the one talking. And I'm just like listening, and he'd be bringing up all these names. And what's funny is like there are names I've not heard since he was alive that I hear about now. Like they pop up and I go, oh my God, I know that name. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And also, like shout out to Mark Bailey. Like,
that's another big person that I've connected with through you, man.
It's my boy.
Mark is the homie. Love you, Mark, if you're watching.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Mark, man. Trap loves Mark Bailey, supports Mark Bailey. Shout out to the sponsor. But like, you want to talk about someone like Mark Bailey? Like Mark Bailey's, like, he's a book, bro. Like he's a book on not even just with ball pythons. Like a lot of people get it twisted and think Mark Bailey is just a ball python fucking, OG. No, man. He's rodents, but also colubrids. He's fucking really like, he's a herper. He's a herper, bro. Like he goes out there and fucking like, he sees animals. Like
he was showing me a picture when I drove him up to Pomona. He was showing me a picture. He found a hognose like in his backyard or like near his house, and like, we were having crazy conversations on that hour drive.
He's just really like, you have people who are like made names for themselves by making money off breeding or whatnot, but like he is just really,
he's been here from the start.
Man, like,
even I think on the last podcast he was saying that he kept carpet pythons, the last one you had him on.
That's crazy.
Never even talked to him about that, but you learn something new about that guy every conversation you have with him.
And I want to say, Mark, I mean, I've met, like, we're using Mark as an example, but I want to say when it comes to like business decisions, what moves to make within a hobby, like Mark's your guy, dude, for sure.
Yeah, he put me on a little bit of game. He hooked me up with some animals this past show, even the show before. And I told him, this is what I'm working on. This is what what do you think? This is my idea. And he would say, yeah, that sounds like a good direction to go with it, or I don't know, maybe you want to go this way with it. And obviously, like hearing it from him, like it's somebody you for sure want to listen to, and take his words with, they hold some weight to them, I guess would be the word to how to say it.
They do, man. And what's crazy is like, if he really wants to tell you something, like where he thinks it's going to be important, like he'll ask you, like, are you listening? Because like, I need you to listen to this right now. And like, Mark, I'm listening. Okay. I'm about to tell you something. And I go, okay. So again, shout out to Mark Bailey. Now that we're talking about ball pythons, obviously you made some sort of pivot. Okay, well, before we get to the ball pythons, your foundation's based off what? Like, if somebody were to come into your collection, Diego, and say, "Oh, what is it that you're like? What are you more firm on when it comes to projects?" What would that be?
Well, I want to be more involved with monitors, so that's kind of what got me back into the hobby. It was the first thing I got back was some geckos, some gargoyle geckos, which I still have. But then the next thing I wanted to get a bigger lizard, but not a massive monitor because I live in an apartment, so I can't keep it. So I ended up getting really big into dwarf monitors. So right now I have just a trio of Ackies that I've bred. This is going to be the second time this year that I've actually got them to breed. But I want to get more, dwarf species of monitors. Some Varanus kingorum monitors would probably be the next that I want to get. I also want to get some Kimberly Rock monitors, the Varanus poberensis. Kind of want to get a lot of the Odatria, a lot of those species.
Now, before we kind of tap into like other projects, these species you speak of, like what is it that stands out the most? Like what really intrigues you the most about working with dwarf monitors?
It's like what I found really crazy is it's like obviously the experience that I have with lizards before this was a bearded dragon, and they get 2 feet. And just thinking that you can get a monitor the same size, if not smaller, and you get the personality, the similar diet, the intelligence of a big monitor, of like, Alice and Mac, but in a real, I guess what's the word? A smaller package,
Yeah.
So that's like what attracted me to them, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, because their behaviors are the same. They
Yeah.
act exact. They're just as intelligent. I
Yep.
want to say too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was always told, because like you said, like it always comes down to space. And
Yeah.
man, these big monitors take so much space.
Yeah,
like
the enclosure we built for them that you have
fuck,
now,
bro. Like
it's the size of my apartment.
Yeah, it takes a lot of space. But what's crazy is, like, if you're limited when it comes to that, you can easily work with a dwarf monitor species that it's going to make you just as happy to keep. I feel like.
And like that's what I like talk to some people about too, is they don't think about it as everyone, when they think monitors, they think of something, 5-6 feet, something super massive that's going to need a whole room as a cage. But then you start kind of looking into it deeper, and you look at all these other smaller species that are also, just as interesting, and they don't require that much space. Even like tree monitors, like those are a really nice, really beautiful species of monitor, all of them, and they don't require nearly as much space as as the bigger monitors that we have out there.
Although there are arguments right now, I will say that
the more space, the better.
Right.
That's the biggest argument. Like, especially when I started getting back into them, was like, oh, what size? That's the first thing everybody looks up, is what size enclosure can I keep in,
and they're always thinking the small, like they want to think the minimum, like what's like, and it's because of space, and that's that's fine, you know what I mean? But like the tree monitors, like I have Kevin and Brittany in a 6 by 2.5 or 2 deep, 4 feet across.
Yep.
And I still think they could probably use double that size.
Yeah, I mean, the more space you give to a lizard, especially, they're going to use all of it,
Yeah, and we're talking specifically tree monitors right now, because the way they are agile, how fast they are.
Oh yeah, they need space to move.
Dude, I can only imagine how they travel from tree to tree to tree. Like I'm talking like they just probably launch.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? And I feel like man, at some point I would like to have something walk in for them, like almost like a Mac Dre and Alice situation.
Yeah.
But really, bro, man, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but fuck, man, shout out to Australia, man. Australia keepers who keep things outside.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, there's got to be a way we could figure out in San Diego. Something. Like I think obviously there's a time and place weather-wise where they have to be contained.
Yeah.
But if you do a half outdoor, half indoor,
that's
lock them in or something.
Yeah, that's like ideas I've had, like thinking about like later down the line when I get myself a house and stuff like that, and like wanting to get into the bigger monitors. I was thinking, what would be the easiest way and like kind of a more unique way of keeping them. And I think that would be a good idea, having a partially outside, partially inside enclosure. But obviously it still comes with its, pros and cons to it as well.
It's funny you say that, man, because one thing about the tree monitors is, I mean, I sometimes you get lucky if they jump out, they'll stay there, and then you can catch them. But man, if they take off, they take off, and you're just like, and obviously you don't want to like, because they're a lot smaller. They're not like Mac Dre and Alice, so you don't want to step on them or like, you know what I mean. And I can only imagine outside.
Yeah, I would.
If that motherfucker hits the ground outside or catches a branch, and you're not, gone.
Yeah,
and last
for sure gotta be on top of everything when it comes to that to prevent that as much as possible.
And there's biosecurities for that. Like there's double door containments, which obviously you and I have been talking about building an outdoor enclosure for Mac Dre and Alice. That's going to need 2 doors, like a door within a door. Yep. And if any of you out there are wondering, like, what's a double contained door mean? It's
zoos have it.
Yeah. So it's basically like, imagine a door and then there's another door. Now the reason for that is because let's say you have your cage open and the monitor gets out, it's going to hit the other door that's closed. So it's like
it's redundancies pretty much to prevent them from getting out. I think it's like a requirement, like in Florida, if you have like venomous reptiles too, you have to have that like a door and then another door. Yeah, it's pretty much like a closet space in between the second door.
Yeah,
to prevent all of that.
So before we kind of switch lanes here, overall, like long term, are you looking to establish like great breeding projects within these dwarfs, or are you just looking to maybe just enjoy keeping them? Like, what would you like to? Like, are we talking, Diego? We're looking to start a brand at some point and do what the typical breeder's doing in the industry and trying to turn this into a business.
I mean, I would would love for it to turn into something like that, you know, but I'm not in a rush for that to happen. I'm not going to go out and, you know, start buying all kinds of things and like, okay,
Get
like
ahead of yourself.
Yeah, these need to breed in order for me to like, you know, grow within the industry, you know, like, nah, like that would be really cool, like eventually for that to happen for me. And yeah, like that's kind of a dream scenario for that to happen. But at the same time, like if, I mean, I would want it to, and, you know, I'm going to work for that to happen, but let's just say for whatever reason, it never happens. Like I'm more than happy just keeping everything that I have as pets and like breeding things for me, you know,
because that's how it all started, right?
Yeah, 100%. Just like how you have like your chondros and your emeralds and everything like that, you know, like they're just something that I really like to interact with on a day-to-day basis and just to keep in my house. And like when people come over, I'm like, hey, you want to see something cool? And I'll pull out like a lizard, and people are like, what the fuck? Like, you have a lizard? I'm like, yeah, look. And then you'll feed them, and then they start tripping out, you know?
Yeah. A lot of your info came from what you would say when it comes to the monitors.
YouTube, number one.
Any specific channels, or is it just random stuff that you look up?
Just, I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you. But so just that. And then the first person that I actually bought my first pair of Ackies off of, I believe on Instagram, it's GIS Reptiles. I forget the guy's name, but he's really big on the like dwarf monitors, just monitors in general. And I got like information from him about how to keep them and everything before I even like talk to him about buying anything. And then just hitting up different people, you know, more or less.
Any big learning curve that stands out when it comes to you know, working with the dwarf monitors that you could lay down for us
compared to like a bearded dragon or something like that?
Well, just like something that it took maybe a little bit time for you to figure out, or you're like, man, I'll never do that again, or something. Like it could either be like pairing, or like, you know, the way she laid or whatever. Like, what's probably the biggest like learning experience? Learning opportunity you've had.
Well, like the biggest thing is like that was like kind of a struggle for me, I guess, would be like the whole nesting thing, you know, with monitors. And
that has to be on point.
Yeah, and that's like, I know a lot of people struggle with that, like when first getting into it. And I think there was a podcast that I was listening to. I forget the name of it, but I know Kai. He's in.
Oh yeah, shout out to Kai.
I forget the name of the podcast, but I found that it was him and another guy, which I forget. But they have a bunch of stuff on all types of monitor species and stuff like that. And they did one on nesting, and that's kind of when I like kind of dove really deep into that and wanted to figure that out, and like wanted to learn how that worked, because, you know, hearing the stories of people saying like, oh, like, you know, I got my animals to breed, but then I couldn't get my female to lay, and then she died due to being being gravid and not being able to pass the eggs.
Right. Egg bound.
Yeah, egg bound. There you go. Sorry. So that was one thing that I wanted to know and like learn prior to even pairing my monitors and like getting the nest box perfect for the female and making sure she knew what it was, how to more or less that she was using it and that she would be comfortable in there. So once I kind of got that down and like learned about, you know, the right mix that I used in the box and how to heat it appropriately, especially in my enclosures, because all enclosures are different. And, you know, in bigger enclosures, you might not heat it the same way as a smaller one. And obviously the more dirt or the bigger the egg box, you're not going to heat it the same as a smaller one, you know?
Right. And dude, I don't know, like, what was it that helped you out dial in the nest box, you say? Like, I mean, and did it take a while to figure that out?
Yeah, it probably took me like, I'd say like a month, because I tried a few different things, or like maybe 2 months. Because like,
first and foremost, what substrate do you put inside your nest box?
So right now I have a mixture of play sand, peat moss, and cocoa fiber.
And what's the ratio on that?
I bought like big bags from Home Depot. So I have like a big tote that I pre-mixed everything in. So pretty much it was I think it's like a 50-pound bag of play sand, and then another bag like around that size.
So you have a tub that's like 200 or 200 pounds fucking heavy?
Almost. It's pretty heavy. My girlfriend doesn't like it too much. It's chilling on our balcony right now. And she's like, hey, you need to move that. But yeah, so I mean, I guess it would be like a 1:1 ratio, like if you wanted to do it in exact measurements. But I more or less went off of feel. Like that's what everybody, from the information that I could gather, is what they would say is, you know, you want it to hold like a ball with the moisture, but you don't want it to squeeze out water. Right. And you want it to hold shape. So like I kind of adjusted and readjusted, and like at first I didn't even use all of those things. Like I just tried sand and like cocoa fiber, and I didn't really like it because I didn't feel like it held like a burrow really well. And then I added the peat moss into it, and I felt like that kind of just fixed it for whatever reason. And that I found on some random YouTube video. Nice. Like I forget the dude who posted it, but just hours and hours of YouTube. I'm always on my phone watching YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how like there's so much information out there, and beauty about YouTube, it's not like I like YouTube because you actually hear words coming from someone's mouth.
Yeah.
Versus reading. You know what I mean?
I can read and stuff like that, but I'm a more visual learner. Like I would much prefer to watch a video and like listen to it, or even just listen. Like podcasts and stuff. I listen to them. I listen to MJ's podcast all the time. Or like when I'm at work, I just put my headphones on and do my thing, and I'm just listening and absorbing as much information as I can.
Yeah.
So taking notes here and there when I find something like, oh, I think I need to write that down and remember it, and then just keeping those things for myself.
That's what's up, man. Now, obviously, since I've met you, you've definitely like got your hands into some ball pythons. Like you're starting to kind of like make some player maneuvers.
Yeah.
You have something from Marshall? Am I tripping?
Yeah, I do. So Marshall Mendez, I really got, so when I got into ball pythons, I didn't know what I wanted. So I've always liked ball pythons, but like I said before, is I could never own a snake living at my parents'. My dad hated snakes, still doesn't really like them to this day. But I've always like kind of kept up with the market and like how things have like progressed, especially with like, more genetics added into the mix. And when I got back into, reptiles, and I was able to start buying my own stuff and like snakes in specific, I got into ultramel. Ultramel is like a big gene that I am working with or plan on working with for the project. So the snake that you're talking about was a pastel ultramel, 100% het clown male that I picked up from Marshall.
Damn, that's what's up.
Yeah.
So you would say ultramel is like the biggest foundation as far as recessive projects for you, like that? Like you want to kind of build things off of ultramel?
Yeah, so ultramel and clown, those are the two recessives and ball pythons that I'm focusing with. Maybe I'm thinking of adding another. Haven't decided on which I want to do yet. So
another recessive
into the project,
into the ultramel.
Yeah.
Monarch.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I gotta ask you, bro. Like, do I since you do listen to this show quite often, whenever I kind of like go in on a certain morph or whatever,
everyone bags on it when it comes to ultramel. Everyone always brings up Monarch. When someone brings up Monarch, they're always bringing up ultramel.
I mean,
so
that's
it's kind of a back
flows.
and forth thing, So it's like,
but does it make it confusing for you at all?
Nah, because I know the difference from what I think. I know the difference between them, and I mean,
what's the difference? Hold on, what's the difference between Monarch and ultramel?
Well, Monarch is darker, like for the most part. The purple
and better looking.
That's up for debate. Let's get the vote right now in the chat. Let's see. Team
all right,
ultramel,
guys.
team
I want to
Monarch.
hear the comments. Monarch or ultramel.
Jaffe, where you at?
Jaffe, where you?
All my Canadian fellows hop in.
No, seriously. So, I mean, what other recessive have you seen in ultramel that really stands out to you?
Other than clown. I was gonna say clown. That's the biggest
like,
one. But I like a hypo ultramel and then a DG ultramel. Like those are all pretty cool. At the last super show, I saw the ultramel puzzle. That one was pretty nice too. But I still haven't decided on another one. If at all, I'm gonna add another one, or just kind of focus on the double recessives before moving into triples, because I feel like everybody's kind of on the race right now to triple and quad recessives when there's still so much to be done with doubles.
I agree.
And especially with like some of the things that I want to work into it, is there's a lot. The possibilities are endless. Like, not in my lifetime will everybody or somebody make every combination of ball python,
So far, I see everybody in the live chat saying Monarch.
Nah,
so
I think I'm reading ultramel. My boy's dyslexic.
Okay, but I'm curious, because one thing that I feel like is important, like if you buy a line of something, like for instance DG, right? Like I there's like 5 levels of DG.
Yeah, so that's like one of the things that's like kind of holding me back from it, is because I still haven't even fully understood how all of that works.
Yeah.
So before I hop into that, I would want to for sure.
So
know how
maybe
that
I can help you with that, because this is how I simplify things, right? There's so many, I guess, levels to this DG shit, as they're saying, but I feel like if there was levels to this ultramel stuff, don't you feel solid just getting your ultramel through Marshall? Because you feel like that's like that's a specific like reputable line of ultramel is through Marshall.
Yeah,
and 100%. I feel like that's the same thing with DG.
100%. Like, and I mean, obviously, I help MJ out a lot within his collection, and I see all the animals that he has, and seeing like the DG that he has from Levance at Straight Fire, like that thing.
Levance and MARC. So I got Levance, Levance,
and
DG and MARC.
Yeah, but I remember, I think one of the first ones that I saw you get was the one from Levance.
Yeah.
And that thing, I haven't seen anybody's DG as nice as that one. At least not
That's
in person.
That thing's stupid, bro.
Yeah. Even everybody that came here for the trap dinner, you know, all of them were amazed by that snake.
Right.
You know, and a lot of those guys keep DG, and, you know, Levance was here. That was his snake.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it's all different. I think it's all depends on who you're getting it from, like you said, and if they've been working that gene right and doing it justice, you know, not just pairing just a pair, but they're pairing with a goal in mind.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference on the quality of an animal that you're getting.
So do you feel like your ultra male loyalty is to Marshall? Like, you feel like if you ever want to re-up more ultra male, you're going to go to, or before, if you want to re-up a more ultra male, you're going to go to Marshall first?
Yeah. So I actually have, before I even found out about Marshall, I picked up a ultra male female, like a baby, from, I believe his name is Randy at Dark Cloud Reptiles.
Oh, shout out to Randy. He's from San Diego.
Yep. Yeah. So I picked up a snake from him, and it's just a regular, like, you know, not plain, but just a single gene ultra male female. And then the next visual ultra male I got was from Marshall. So yeah, for sure, if I'm going to get more, it might most likely will be from Marshall, or I'm going to just try and make my own stuff. And that's more so the direction I'm going toward right now.
Now, I mean, is there anything timeline wise, like, you looking to like start breeding ball pythons? Like, do you have a certain like game plan for when that's going to go off and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, so hopefully either late this year or next year. I've still started, or I've been collecting, you know, more animals as I go. I started with getting a lot of, you know, younger snakes from people. And then I just, as I've gone and like met other people, like the adult snakes have kind of just popped up, and, you know, they're coming up for the right price. So I just kind of hopped on them, even though like it's not super smart if you don't know what you're doing to get like just to buy stuff. But, you know, when the deal comes up and it's there, like I just, you know, I just take it. So right now I think I have about four or five breeder ready females. And then my male, he's the only one that I'm waiting on to get a little bit bigger.
So you only have one male?
I have two,
okay,
but the other male, I'm not planning on breeding him because he's a lavender albino, and he's a double het clown pied. But I have nothing with lavender in it, so I'm going to try and sell that male and then probably buy another male with ultra male in it.
Now, you know, when it comes to like you at some point having to sell ball pythons, like, do you feel like it's going to be more vending, or do you feel like it's be more morph market? Like, where would you like to have your snakes sold at?
I would prefer to go to shows. I mean, my first experience like vending a show was with you, obviously, you know, when you had your first show, and, you know, helping you out with that and just seeing how all of that works. Like, it's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's also really fun. And, you know, and that's where I would much more rather, that doesn't make sense. I would much rather, you know, sell snakes or animals in general, just because you get to make that face-to-face connection with people, and, you know, you get to talk to somebody, and, you know, like, compared to on the internet where you can just, hey, you know, I want this snake, but let me ask my wife first type stuff, you know? So like, I can see that getting like really annoying for me, but I would probably still post stuff online, but I would much prefer to sell them like local or, you know, face-to-face type stuff.
You know, that shit can happen at a show though, man.
No, it's happened a lot. I was there.
Remember that girl who was like, okay, I want to buy this one. He's like, no, you don't. You want to go a couple more booths down. I was like, motherfucker. I was like, she said she wants to buy it, bro. Like, oh my God.
So the story he's talking about, there's a couple that came up to his table at the last show, and the girlfriend wanted to buy a snake that he had at the table.
That didn't even want to sell either.
Yeah. And the boyfriend was like, he was kind of into it, but then he was like, no, like someone else has this exact snake, like two rows down. We can get it for cheaper. And I was like, MJ was there at that point, so I didn't say anything. But she really wanted the snake. Like, if she had the money out, the girl would have bought the snake. But the dude was the one that kind of cock blocked on that one.
It is what it is. You know, you just, you know, you take what you can get.
Yeah, you know, that's just how it goes.
But I always say, man, fuck the, you know, not fuck the sales. Obviously, you want sales at a show because that's kind of motivating, obviously. But man, marketing, getting your name out there, and just connecting with people face to face is a huge benefit. Like, it does something at some point.
Well, I mean, that's like kind of how I've began to make that connection with a lot of people, you know, not just through you, and then going to the shows. Like, that's where I was able to meet, you know, like KG, who else? Brian, Benny. I met Benny there. Adler. I met all of them, you know, meeting all these people at the shows and seeing them consistently, you know, like, you begin to develop friendships and, you know, relationships that way. And just, it's more so than just seeing someone's name on a screen and like, oh yeah, I know that guy, you know? Because up until then, like that's kind of how I knew people. Is I was like, oh, you're so and so. That's how I kind of introduced myself. Hey, I'm so and so from Instagram. You're so and so, right? Like I see you. I remember you have this, and they're like, yeah. Oh, what's your name? And it's different.
Yeah, man. And like I said, at some point it could lead to something, like as far as like, some sort of like a collaboration or just whatever. Like it's just cool to connect with people because it means the next step could come,
Yeah. It opens more doors for you,
Yeah. Now, how scary is it to you to think about people who do reptiles full time?
I mean,
would you ever want to do that? Like in a perfect world, right?
In a perfect world, yeah, 100%, because I love working with animals and that'd be my ideal job. But I mean, at the end of the day, obviously there comes, pros and cons with everything, so working with animals and that becoming your full time, some people don't know how to balance the difference between, passion and money. That's where the line gets a little bit blurry. And a lot of people, once it becomes a full-time thing, they stem away from, I got into this because this was my passion and I love working with them, to now I need to sell this in order to, to feed my family. And that's kind of the scary part of it. And like, that's why a part of me says, like, I don't think I would ever stop working a 9 to 5. Like I maybe would dial it back some, but you definitely need like different streams of revenue. Like you, for example, like you not only have the animals, but you have this podcast and stuff like that, so you're doing it a right way because you're doing two things that you're passionate about and you're not letting the money control the things you're doing,
Yeah, and I had this little rant earlier today, bro, just because I can't help but to feel a certain type of way about certain things. Like my biggest thing is like we should all take care of each other, right? Like especially the big companies within an industry like this should always look after each other. And I just seen so much backstabbing happen within certain companies of each other, and also companies that just don't really look after people like us.
Yeah,
and it's very fucking unfortunate. But it's kind of like it comes with the territory. You want to know why? Because of money.
Yeah,
it
money.
all comes down to money,
is
bro.
the root of all evil.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
But actually, it always is. It always is
That's
because somebody could come in here, and it's documented. People come in here solely off the passion of things.
Yeah.
And when things happen, they need money. Something happens to their family. Something happens where they need to do something desperate. A lot of these motherfuckers will roll on somebody in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Fuck somebody over. Just do something very shady or whatever, Or
you hear the stories of people at shows, where they're like, oh, so-and-so has this snake for this price. Oh, well, I'll take 100 off and I'll sell it to you for that price,
Well, that right there, that's his bit. That's a sell. I mean, honestly, that's people getting undercut in projects is obviously that's like you right there got to be one step ahead of that curve, because look what happened to me at the fucking Reptile Super Show. I had some of my Super Door productions being wholesaled at some fucking table like across the room from me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how do you think that made me feel?
Yeah.
100%. I've never been sick to my stomach like that, bro.
Yeah.
I've never been that, but at the end of the day, what can I do? Like
it's out of your hands.
They own those animals and they can do what the fuck they want.
Yeah, that's true.
And also too, like, they got to make their money.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like the way they bought all those snakes, it budgeted where they could price those snakes the way they had to price them to get their money back.
And they want to move them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's like, because I feel like there's multiple issues within trust within the hobby. Obviously there's keeper to keeper, but the biggest thing, man, is like the businesses, man.
Yeah.
The businesses. And there's a lot of hypocrites. Like there's a lot of people, and without getting too much into details, there's just a lot of people out there who paint a picture like, we bring things like US ARC together and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, I don't see it coming from them. Like, I don't see what we're doing, like what people like myself and Diego and people who support US ARC, like, I don't actually physically see it coming from them. I see them talk about it, but I don't see it actually physically coming from certain companies. And that's fucking aggravating. You know what I mean?
100%.
But also too, like I said, like some people don't do anything unless it brings money to the situation.
Yeah, and that's just wrong. At the end of the day, like we're dealing with living things here. If your main focus is for money, then you should get out right now. Like that's the biggest thing, because it's not gonna end well for you. You're gonna end up screwing yourself and a lot of people in the process, and it's just a waste of everybody's time at that point.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my biggest thing is like there's been people who've known each other in this game for like 30 fucking plus years, and the way I see some of them treat each other, or the way I see a lot of this like backstabbing type shit, it's just very heartbreaking, bro.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, dude, imagine us, like we've only known each other for a year or so, right?
I think-
Has it even been a year yet?
I think it's 2.
Has it been 2
Almost
years
2 years.
since you came over and all that?
What are we in 2023?
Really? No.
I think like 21,
21.
late 21.
Was it?
Yeah, I think that's when was your first show? When did you friend your first show?
That was Jan
2022.
last year.
Yeah, so I knew you before that.
Yeah, but
So
it
the
was
year
you
before
knew
that.
me that year though. I don't think
Yeah,
it was 2021. I think it was 2022.
Maybe, yeah, something like that.
But imagine us having this relationship, and then here we are 30 years later. Some shit happens where I basically just turn my back on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would be really hurt. I mean, honestly, like I'm a very like loyal person.
You're very
you know,
loyal.
especially for like my friends. I mean, I got one of my best friends, Jose Campos, up in the chat right there.
Shout
That
to
man
Jose.
doesn't even know what a snake is, but he's still
Bro, he's saying
complimenting
Ultramel. He's already he's
Hey,
claiming Ultramel, dog.
He's seen it in person. That's why he knows what's up. But you know, like I'm
Damn.
like he could probably comment on it. You know, I feel like I'm a very loyal person when it comes to like my friends, and you know, once my friends become like my friends, they're pretty much my family, and like I'll do whatever I can for them. You know, at any time, I'll drop everything to help anybody. You know, especially if you're a good friend of mine.
I'm
you
the
know?
same way, man, and that's why like when I hear certain people getting fucked over in the industry,
It's sad.
It's sad, but also you know I have anger problems, bro. Like
Yeah.
I've come a long ways, but there's just certain things that aren't okay with me, man.
Yeah,
and my biggest thing is like, bro, I got accused this year of being a fucking bully for just doing my fucking podcast and saying my thing on my show.
Yeah.
Where, and I don't want to get specifics, but there's real fucking bullying type shit going on to some of the most loyal people in the industry. You know what I mean? And that right there just it tells me everything. And I also want to say a lot of this is like old head type activity. These are motherfuckers who aren't really, I don't think they give a fuck, man.
They're stuck in their ways.
They're
you know?
stuck in their ways and
like,
they don't give a fuck. I'm telling you,
they don't want
care.
to change. And like that's a big thing that I've noticed, like especially just within this like year or so, is that there's a lot of moving parts to the reptile industry and a lot of things that are changing. And it's like, I guess it's a good thing where it's like if you're not changing for the better, you're kind of getting left behind and people don't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
You know, and like
That's true.
And that's a good thing. You know, everybody should be striving to be better. And if you're, you know, if you're being stagnant and if you're not improving on what you're doing, then what are you doing? You know, like I don't see how, and honestly, I don't see that being a fun thing. Like if I'm doing the same thing and taking care of my animals the exact same way since day one, like that doesn't seem fun. You know, like I want to change things. I want to see, oh, if I do this or I put this in there, how's that going to react? Or, you know, even with like lighting, okay, let me add this UVB on there. How's that going to change the animal's behavior? You know, is it even going to have an effect like that? That's what I think is the fun part about all of this. It's like, to me, it's like one big science project, you know?
Yeah. And it's always like,
it's always evolving.
There's always evolving. There's
Shout
always
out Miguel.
and there's always something new to figure out. Like how many times has this room changed around since I've been in here?
Plenty. We just changed it right now.
But it's all because like it's all for the better though,
yeah,
right?
Or
like,
even compared to like your last room, you know, like from your last 2, you had 2 at that point and now you have 1.
Yeah.
You know, and like seeing that change has been super cool. And like that, honestly, helping you out and seeing all that, like that's made me want to do better and want to get things, you know, and want to strive to have something similar, you know, like I want to have some nice cages like this one day. I'm not saying I keep my animals shitty, you know, just putting that out there, but you know, I don't have them in super nice enclosures. I have them in what meets their needs and it's nice. And I like looking at them every day, but you know, it's not professional like this type of stuff, you know?
Bro, I want to say about 2 years ago, these were all in Target tubs.
Yeah. So I was there. I saw them.
Yeah.
For the
Wait,
most
so
part.
you were there before I even got these?
I think your first batch, but right before you got them, right before you got the first batch of focus cubes, I remember I was there helping you out.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
You're right. Now I remember.
Mhm.
Okay. And then it was shortly after that we got Mac Dre analysis enclosure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was the biggest thing you helped me with.
Yeah. That was probably one of the first big projects
What
that
a
we did.
beast that fucking thing was.
What a
bro.
pain in the ass that thing was.
Piece
man.
of shit enclosure. Dog, I'm so okay. True or false?
I didn't say it. He did.
I did say it. Piece of shit enclosure. Because it's not quality. Like,
Yeah,
bro,
the
do you see how
PVC
easy that shit was breaking?
Yeah. Like the PVC was.
It was. I never knew.
We grabbed it wrong and it broke. It was brittle.
I never knew there was PVC that was quality, like styrofoam, fucking foam.
Yeah.
Like I can literally break this shit. That's how cheap
It's like,
this PVC
I think it's
was.
like Chinese quality in the US. I think that's what
Oh
I don't know
my
the difference.
God.
I'm not super big in the building materials, but I'm pretty sure I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
I don't even know how we broke that down and got that. Actually, you weren't even there. My
No,
dad.
I think your dad did that.
And
I
we
was
fucking almost broke it. Like it was almost broken in pieces.
I wasn't looking forward to helping you with that project.
But no, man, it's fucking it's something that happens with time, bro. Like, I mean,
Yeah, 100%. And like that's that's the fun. You get to look forward to being better, doing better, and seeing your your evolution and how you went from where you started to where you are now. Like it's crazy.
Now, other than ball pythons, like what's another venture you're trying to take on? Like what's something, obviously once it happens, you either get a bigger place or whatever, you have more time. Like what's a species that you feel confident working with other than dwarf monitors, ball pythons? What would you say the third one you would want to be, you'd want to be at some point?
Well, I mean, I have like some other little, I guess, like side projects going on right now, but they're still like smaller species of animals. Like I have some gargoyle geckos, like I said before. I have some.
What's the overall goal with those? Are you trying to
just those more so pets? Like I got them.
They're cool.
Yeah, like my girlfriend liked them, and like she is not a big reptile person, and I'm like,
whatever she likes, you're good.
Yeah, that's what kind of started it. Is I got those, and I was like, oh look, like these are super cool, like then we could breed them and all that, and then I snuck in. Oh, by the way, like I'm also buying these, and she was like, how big do those, for monitors? I'm like, oh, these only stay small, and they stay small, but not as small as she wanted. But so I got those, and then I also have some fire red anoles. So Anolis sagri, I believe, is the species. They're from Armin at Herptime.
Damn, shout out to Armin.
Yeah, so I have like a trio of those. But those are just more, side projects, fun projects. If they breed, they breed. If they don't, they don't. I'm happy to have them as pets too. And then, but I guess like a next big thing is I want to get into the bigger monitors. Like, I mean, I would love to get like, a Bell's Phase, like a lace monitor, or even like a black dragon or something like that. Just having
you don't want a black dragon, bro.
Those things are sick.
They're fucking gnarly, dog.
You just got to keep them right. You got to socialize them.
They're just
the ones
gnarly,
that
bro.
I've seen videos. I mean, I haven't seen one in person, but I'm pretty sure that's scary as hell to have a big, mean monitor,
And that's normally I'm for the bigger stuff, but after getting these black tree monitors and seeing how they're just like a fucking black dragon,
Asian water monitor,
but it doesn't get nowhere nearly as big.
Yeah,
like
they're
I'm
just
good with that.
Cool. Yeah, but I mean, I want to get into a bigger monitor, like maybe not even just to breed, but kind of have as a pet. Like imagine somebody pulls up and you're like, hey, you want to see my 6-foot lizard that I got? You just pull something out and like, I don't think you can't be amazed by something like that,
Yeah.
And like I love like introducing people to lizards and all that stuff. Like people at my job are like, oh yeah, that's the guy that knows about reptiles and stuff like that. So stuff like that, more monitors, honestly. So not even tree monitors, but once I get space, I want something that's big, like for sure.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Now, would you say that with time, are you looking to like have like, obviously you live in an apartment right now, right? But like, let's say you buy a house, you have property, like is that when you're looking to expand shit?
Yeah, I mean, even now, like I want to grow, I mean, that's like the goal of everybody is more growth, and like every time I'm on Morph Market, I want to buy something new. Sometimes the bank account ain't agreeing with that, or the girlfriend's not agreeing, so
or sometimes both.
Yeah, or both, that's the biggest one. So it's like right now, like since I am, like you said, in an apartment in a smaller, space, is I still want to work with the things I want to work with. Obviously, it's not realistic for me to go out and buy a monitor that's going to get, 5-6 feet, but it is, more realistic to get, dwarf species or even like a tree monitor. Like I could have space for a tree monitor too. So I don't know how soon I'm going to buy a house. I don't got money for a house now. So I'm probably going to be stuck with smaller species of monitors, or maybe the next one would probably be, if I'm at where I'm at now, within the next year or two, maybe a tree monitor or a pair.
Yeah, man. I think you're going to really just lose it once you actually own a tree monitor, just because they're like the Chondro of the monitor game.
Yeah, 100%.
It's nuts, because they come in so many different colors. Mm-hmm. What, 6-7 different colors?
But even then, like in the green trees, like there's people you see them with like they're almost blue. Yeah. So like just that alone, like it's crazy. It's almost like a designer Chondro.
It really is. And they're just really awesome to interact with. Like the black tree monitors I got from the homie Spotty Life. Is that his name? Yeah, Spotty Life out in Florida. Dude, they're bold. They literally want to come right out of the enclosure, which scares me because I'm just so fucking
they're so small.
Yeah, they're so tiny. The biggest thing I've learned, I say, within the last year of keeping monitors is actually longer than that, but like the diversity in diet. Like what's your input when it comes to like dieting for a monitor? Like,
oh, it's mandatory to have a diverse diet when it comes to monitors. You can't feed them the same thing. It's not, I just don't think that that's right. You know, you can't feed them. Like, I don't like eating the same thing every day, you know, and they're able to eat different things, a variety of different things. So why not, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the more variety, the better. Like, I like to feed mine, you know, I rotate whenever I go to the grocery store. I'm like, okay, like what do we got? Buy something different. Or like my cousin, he was the one that kind of put me on game to go like to like an Asian, like a Chinese market where they have all kinds of weird, you can get all kinds of weird stuff where you're like, yeah, I'm not finding this at a Ralph's. So I'll buy that stuff, like weird stuff like that. Yeah, snails, freaking like chicken hearts and all that stuff, and just let's see if they like it. You know, they're all different. You know, sometimes they won't eat it, so other ones will. Like I have 3 and they're all different. Like I have my biggest female that I have, she'll eat anything. She's a dumpster. My male, he likes eating bugs. He'll eat turkey. He'll eat eggs, but you have to really like tease him with the tongs. And then I have another female where if it doesn't move, she's not eating it. Wow. So like bugs, they have to all move. Like you can't, like even with worms, like she doesn't, like she's kind of
she doesn't like stuff that sits still.
Yeah, she's very picky. So she's smaller because of that reason, you know. But, you know, like if it wouldn't be fair if I just fed them all the same, you know, because then what, they're not going to be getting what they want out of everything, you know, out of life, I guess. And if you want to put it that way.
I mean, you think realistically, what are they eating in the wild that's the same all the time? You know, I mean, obviously there's certain insects, but they get anything they
whatever they can get their mouth on, they're going to eat, you know. So things come across different things every day. If they're able to eat it, they're going to eat it. You know? So whatever I can give them in order to give them that variety, that's what I want to do.
Now, even though you're just now getting your feet wet with ball pythons or just kind of other species, like what's your, like, what do you feel when you hear about people not being able to move snakes and sell stuff, and it's like slow and like all this Debbie Downer type shit? Like, does that worry you at all?
So yeah, so that's like, it's more so on the business side of things. I mean, for me personally, like I said, like most of the stuff that I'm breeding, like I've came into it with the mindset of, you know, if I don't sell any of it, am I happy keeping it all? And yeah, so far with what I have and what I'm planning on breeding, I wouldn't be mad keeping it all, you know. And then just like how everybody says, you know, the market's up and down, up and down. So if it's in a down when I start breeding, I'll keep all my stuff, hold it back. Maybe when the market's up again, all of that stuff's ready to breed. And then whatever I get from those productions, I can sell when those sell, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the good things about not having it as a full-time thing, is I don't really have to stress or worry about too much. I mean, obviously it's going to cost me money to feed everything and house everything, but you know, that's a different story. But as far as like sales and stuff like that, like, yeah, it is a little, I guess, worrying in the sense of like, let's say I make something where I'm like, I'm not super excited about and I want to sell it. Then yeah, I'm going to be like, oh, you know, like you don't feel the same passion for it compared to something that you're excited about, you know?
Yeah. And then like, you know, like we were talking about earlier, how like money takes over the passion sometimes. And that definitely happened with me in the super dwarfs.
Yeah.
Because yeah, after I got that type of fucking feeling after what happened at the show, like I still love the snakes. Like, even though like, okay, now that's what happened with your projects, who gives a fuck? Like, all right, I won't breed them.
Yeah.
Like, and if I won't breed, I want to keep them, because I thought to myself, like, why did you end up getting rid of all your snakes, all your mainlands, but keep these to begin with? Because you like the way a retic acts. Like, you fucking like a retic, right? Mm-hmm. And that, you know, I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, dude, yeah. So I know that there would have been a point in time where I would have regret getting rid of something. You had to kind
of check yourself a little bit.
I had to check. I definitely had to check myself.
Yeah.
And I want the record to reflect right now. I'm keeping all my super dwarf holdbacks that I've been raising, which isn't a lot anyways, and my main female. So stop hitting me up. I'm not getting rid of them. Leave me alone. And you know, and I feel better about it, because like, you know, I like stuff diverse. I like stuff where like, oh shit, like more work. It takes more work to take care of something just so you appreciate other things. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's how I sit with that.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. You know, like I feel like the majority of people in the hobby keep things out of passion. You know, not everybody keeps things out of, you know, thinking of it monetarily or like, how's it going to benefit me? And like, that's what's super cool about this hobby, you know, is like you talk to people who are like super passionate about something I've never even seen or heard of, you know, and I'm like, they can tell you everything about it. And you're like, wow, hey, you know what? Maybe I kind of want to buy one now, you know? So I just don't like, here's the thing. Like, I talked myself into really believing into the super dwarf, like fucking craze, like, and telling people like with no hesitation, oh, this snake will only get like 9 to 13 feet or 12 feet. Yeah. Okay. And we're talking like 50%ers, right? Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because why? I'm telling you right now, because there's no telling like what size something can be when in history they could get up to that big or they could get up to that small.
Until it's
just like
grown.
humans.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the clutch I had. There were specific smaller snakes in that clutch that were just eating as many meals as the other ones, but the other ones were a lot bigger.
Yep.
So it's kind of like no matter what the percentage
it's
is,
not a guarantee.
It's not a fucking it's not and mind you, what was getting you more money was a higher percentage.
Yeah.
And that's fucking bro, it's a fucking con.
Yeah.
I think I just feel like it is. Now, mind you, dude, like I've seen some of the tiniest retics ever from Eric Lee.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like holy shit. And I'm talking like 2 years later, like here they are, like still small, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen a few that he's posted like on IG where he'd be like, it's a 2-year-old male, and I'm like,
but then he
like 2 feet.
But then he posts an 87 point something %, and that snake is just as big as that snake.
Yeah. Cool, 13, 14 foot.
No. It's 10,
12. Sorry,
12. No, this is about 11 feet.
Yeah,
the snake he posted was about 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
Right, but which is like that's roughly around the same area, and we're talking over almost 40% more in super dwarf.
Yeah, but
supposedly.
That's like, I mean, but that's how kind of that whole thing was marketed, you know, by all the bigger guys. I'm not gonna name names, but it was marketed by them as, oh, you know, these are gonna stay small. You get a big retic, but it's only gonna grow 7 foot, but. You know,
all that shit, all that shit came back and bit us in the ass.
Yeah. And a lot of them were doing it to sell snakes, you know, like it's a big marketing thing, you know, just like how mainlands, like not too many people are being successful selling mainlands because of the size. So they figured out a way to get around that problem and still, you know, move the snakes that they wanted to move. While, you know, there are some people who are honest with what they have and they actually are, you know, telling you the truth, like Lucas.
Yeah, shout out to Lucas.
You know, that guy knows so much about super dwarfs. It's ridiculous. I listen to his podcast and just to listen to it, you know.
Shout out to the Retic Lounge.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Lucas changed my whole perspective on retics in general, because at the end of the day, what I like are the specific localities that some of these snakes come from. Yeah. Like I like Slayer, I like Ternates, I like fucking what's the other one that stands out to me? Slayer, Ternate. What's the other one that I really like?
Calico.
No, there's another one. I don't know why I can't. Kawadi.
Oh, Kawadi.
Right. But like that's what I like. What the snake naturally looks like.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm into.
Morphs and everything. Yeah.
Right. Because
I know he's a locality freak too, so that's like the guy to go to for stuff like that.
So I just kind of wanted to reset. I want to reset everything because, like I said, I went into this like where I wanted to put as much morphs into the highest percentage super dwarf, but really like that's not what I'm into. What I'm into are where these locality pythons specifically come from.
Yeah.
And then either line crossing or something like that, or getting other localities into each other, and then maybe throwing like my favorite more like an anthrax. Like I'm a huge anthrax guy. Or golden child or something, you know what I mean? Like maybe like throwing your favorite morphs, but the stacking thing, bro. Like I want to get away from stacking. I'm tired of this stacking fucking mentality when it comes to morphs. Not just, it's just me personally, just because I want like why I'm obsessed with all this shit is because there ain't no morphs in this fucking in Condos and Emeralds. It's all localities and where they come from
and looks.
And looks, you know what I mean? So that's mainly where I'm heading at with shit. And I don't know, like I said, I'm glad I'm sticking with, because here's a game plan with my, I do have some really nice super dwarfs. Excuse me. I have some really nice 50% Kalatoas that have genes that I really like working with, like the marble, anery, and platinum.
Yep.
And what I could do at some point, once I'm ready to kind of get back into the things with the retics, is getting my favorite localities and putting them to those. You know what I mean? And just going from there.
Yeah. See, you're doing that all based off of a passion, you know, what you like. You're not necessarily going off of what the next craze is, or like, what the hype, you know, you're not following the hype train.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm not gonna lie, man, the ball python was another hype train. But ball python is living up to its hype. I want to say the ball python game, there ain't nothing like it. It is a pain in the ass. It's a headache. There's a lot of like confusion for sure. Yeah. My biggest thing is the confusion within the ball python game, but you always figure it out. Like there's always like an explanation, but the whole like polygenic morph and I get it. Like that's interesting. It's fun, but god damn, is it tiring?
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck.
It's like, a lot of information.
What do you mean this gene doesn't work now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what you get when you work with so much like.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to that. Just that species alone, you know, it's not simple. It's not simple at all. So
yeah,
you can you can dive into ball pythons for hours and hours and still not understand everything, you know. So
amen, brother.
yeah. But you know, you can't deny their place in the industry and the hobby just because
they
like
are
that's a staple. They're the face. They're probably one of the faces, if not the face, of the reptile hobby. Even though that will upset a lot of people, that's what gets a lot of people in. You know, you go to a show, what are you gonna see? Tables and tables of ball pythons. You talk to somebody, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this was my favorite snake," and it's most likely gonna be a ball python.
Okay,
I like ball pythons too. I keep them, but you know, I'm not one of those guys that's going to get too crazy into that argument.
It's like you said, man, let's be realistic about this. Let's just say there wasn't as many ball python tables at a show. And let's say there was more carpet pythons, chondros, like other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you have this nice family, never owned a reptile, interested, could get one. More likely, they're going to leave with the ball python.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave with the fucking carpet python. They're not going to leave with the super dwarf, aka a fucking locality retic. Because that isn't something you want to give a beginner.
It's not,
like
you know, as a seller, that's not something that's irresponsible to do. You know, like if a kid comes up to you and they're like, I'm buying my first snake, done minimal research, you know, like giving them something like a chondro or a tick, carpet python, stuff like that. That's just, you know, you're sending that snake to its doom, you know? So obviously you don't want anybody buying anything with no research. So you want people to be well-versed in what they're buying and all that stuff. But for the most part, you know, people are always going to gravitate toward, well, what's easy to keep? What can I keep that's easy? You know, that's a big question. I know a lot of people drop at reptile shows, you know, and it's going to go to colubrids or ball pythons. And colubrids in the sense of like corn snakes, king snakes, things like that.
And to the defense of that is because, you know, let's think about the person who is interested in buying a reptile. They probably have a life. They probably have work. They probably have stuff they like to do. They like to go out. They probably have other hobbies.
They're not committed.
They're not committed like
all
us.
the people here.
But that grows over time.
Yeah,
like
100%.
after and maybe it doesn't. Maybe some people are just like, I'm cool with just one.
Yeah.
But I feel like there has to be a gateway to something.
Yeah,
right?
there always is. You know, people are gonna buy a ball python and then they're gonna dive into the, you know, the YouTube hole and then start looking up other stuff, start coming across different videos. Instagram too, they're gonna start coming across people that breed multiple things, or even people like you where you have ball pythons. That is a big thing in your collection, but that's not all that you have. You know, they're going to see things like a chondro, you know, see things like an emerald, and they're going to want something like that. And, you know, then they're going to know, like, I need to do more research and I need to be more responsible in order to keep something like that properly and not, you know, have it die on them. So that's what sparks a lot of people's interest in the hobby, is things like that, you know.
I have a wrap-up question before we get into some hot seat questions. Self-policing. Now, obviously, you know, there was, I mean, drama was thick earlier this year. Oh my God. And boy, did I take advantage. It was awesome. It wasn't awesome, but it was like, fuck, man. Like, it was cool to kind of like get it out there on how people feel about neglect and terrible things happening within the hobby. Now, what do you have to say about regulating ourselves, fucking calling shit out when it needs to be called out, all that stuff? I want to hear it from you.
Getting into the good questions, huh? Well, as far as like the instance that you're referring to, like that happened this year, you know, it's like if you know somebody or you yourself are being told that you're not keeping your animals properly, then you need to change. You need to do something about it. And if you're not going to do something about it, then you need to get out of the hobby, sell your stuff, do whatever you got to do to put those animals in the hands of good keepers and people that are going to be responsible, because at the end of the day, this is a living thing, you know.
And they didn't ask to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like these snakes didn't have the choice of being in the wild or being here. You know, that was our choice as, you know, keepers and as humans. And it's our responsibility as keepers to do the best for the animals that we have. And if you're not doing that, then you need to check yourself. Or if you have a friend that you notice isn't keeping their animals the best, you need to be that person to check them. And I'm not saying it needs to be done publicly or you need to put them on blast in front of everybody. Like maybe all it's going to take is a simple conversation like, hey man, I've noticed that you're doing this wrong, or not even necessarily saying it that way, just saying like, hey, you know, you should probably try this, or, you know, hey, like instead of doing it this way, do it that way. You know, I think it should be more so encouraging people to do better. And if you're not doing better, then, you know, like, what are you doing at this point? You know,
like, can you ever see yourself like walking into this room, seeing animals dead and you'd be like, all right, MJ, see you tomorrow. I'm out. Like,
No.
wouldn't there have to be a certain point where we sit down and talk?
Yeah, like
Especially after, because you see how I started.
Yeah, as a friend. Well, obviously seeing how you keep things now and like how on top of everything you are and like how strict you are even on me, like when coming over here and like taking care of your animals when you're gone or when you used to travel a lot, you know, it's like, it's just, if I were to see that you went from there to going downhill, is I'd be like, hey dude, like what's going on? Because it just doesn't happen overnight, for one.
Right.
And there's usually a reason behind it. Like you said, you know, some people, they fall into money troubles. Some people, they
fall in
off.
addictions.
Yeah, or you know, like they just don't have the same passion anymore. And it's like, okay, dude, if you're not passionate about it, sell it. Like
people forget, bro, like there's humans fighting real battles within themselves, which I don't want to make that an excuse on why things change, but that's why people should reach out and try to help them. And a lot of people have addiction problems, bro. Like there's, I mean, obviously in general, right? But in this hobby, man, people get hooked on certain things. And that's when you kind of realize, oh, so that's when things went downhill.
Yeah.
But who was around to help you? Like who's there to keep you up or something is what.
Yeah, and that goes on to also, I feel like having good friends and good people, you know, good relationships with people within the industry, you know. So
I agree.
That's what's going to help you to be a better person. It's just, you are the company you keep. So if you keep shit company, like my grandpa has the best saying, you know, you hang around shit, you smell like shit,
dude.
So if you are who
For
you
reals.
surround yourself with, you know, so if you want to do better, you should be trying to surround yourself with people that are doing better than you, you know, or at least people that have the same mindset as you, as they want to do better and be better every day.
Like there's these people out there that try to wear these fresh looking shoes, but if you were to look underneath those shoes, there's a bunch of shit on it because they step all over in that shit because of the people they associate themselves with, the things that they do. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You act like shit, you are shit. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of motherfuckers got shit underneath their shoes. So just I don't know. I always say, like, keep your circle tight, man. You know, and it's cool to be cool with people, but motherfucker, ain't nobody like, it's so less is more nowadays, man. Like
I could count my good friends on one hand.
And you know what?
And that list has gotten smaller within the past couple of years alone.
Nothing makes me red flag more when I see somebody who's liked with everybody. Like a Mr. like, oh, everyone loves me.
Or I need to have everybody like me.
Or I need to have everyone like me. Like I'm good on that shit, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was you know, like I said, this is like a little like icebreaker. I want to introduce you to the viewers and stuff like that, because you've been a huge help for me, and I know that you're just getting your shit going and whatnot, man. But I wanted people to know who the fuck you were now, man. I didn't want to wait, so I want to say thank you to everyone who tapped in.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody
and checked out Diego. But we do have hot seat questions.
Yeah.
Okay, even though you're my boy, I'm still gonna serve you with these hot seat questions.
Yeah, 100%.
So do me a favor, guys, get the likes up if you haven't. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell. Hot seat questions for the homie Diego. Dude, drop your Instagram name right now, just so.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a Cruz Family Constrictors. It's an underscore, so Cruz _ Family _ Constrictors.
You talked about maybe changing the name, or
multiple times. I've been thinking of changing my name just because I feel like it's really long.
So what would be the first and foremost? I am gonna pull up his page, so if you guys don't mind, head over to Instagram. Make sure you. Oh, is that not the right one? Head over to IG right now, and I'm pulling it up. Type in Cruz Family Constrictors. Give my boy a follow right now on IG. Yep. But what has been playing around in your head, you know, as far as changing
I don't know.
the name?
I'm really weird when it comes to names and stuff like that. Like I get really indecisive. Like there'll be something where I'm like, oh, I think that's cool, and then I'll look it up and someone already has that name, or I'm like, oh man. Or, you know, I'll think of something and I'll ask a few people about it, and they're like, man, that sounds fucking whack. And I'm just like, damn, all right, bet. So,
bro, people are whack, bro. You just gotta find out what sounds sick to you. I've given you some fucking fresh ideas.
Yeah,
dog.
yeah, 100%.
And you just like you high key fucking Muay Thai kicked them. Okay, so
nah.
I don't, no, but seriously, give my boy a follow. Hot seat questions coming in right now for Diego. Coming hot. You ready, Diego?
I think so. Let's see.
Okay, here we go. Hot seat questions. Let's go. Favorite mixed martial art?
Muay Thai, kickboxing.
Favorite kickboxing champion? You have to say Van Damme.
That's hard. Nah, that guy's a movie star. If you were to be like, I mean, everyone could say Sanchai. That guy's one of the best guys to ever do it. But
what about Rod Tang?
Rod Tang's a beast too.
Yes,
that's like a newer generation. But overall, if you guys look up a guy named Danny Bill. That guy's a beast.
Beast. All right. Was he that white dude that always going to Thailand and fighting?
Nah,
first?
he was a black dude. He's actually from France.
Oh
So
shit.
he actually came to my gym and actually taught a seminar and everything. And his story's pretty crazy. But yeah, he's from France originally, moved to Thailand, fought in Thailand, and then he just started fucking up all kinds of Thai people, and it's crazy.
That's hard. All right. Frozen thought or life?
Frozen thought.
8 cut or no cut on a ball python?
8 cut.
On what day?
Well, I've never bred a ball python or had to cut an A.
What would you say?
But I hear everybody saying day 55.
Okay, cool. All right. Chondros or emeralds?
Oh, fuck. That's a hard one. I'll just say emeralds.
Okay.
Because seeing your emeralds and Tim's, those things are crazy.
Mm.
Crazy. No disrespect to the chondro people either way.
Favorite emerald tree boa breeder?
What? I forget his name. Gary
Shavino?
Shavino?
Damn,
Yeah,
you know he's.
that guy goes
I love
hard.
you, Gary, but he's never successfully bred.
No?
No, I don't know about northerns, but he hasn't done basins yet.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, so
Or no, then Marshall.
Marshall,
Yeah,
yes.
Marshall.
All right,
I know he's bred.
Gary, I love you. I wish
But I've seen his Instagram posts. I think
Gary's gonna get a basin litter. I know. I feel it. I
yeah.
feel it. Pre first shed meal or post first shed meal on a ball python?
post.
Yay imports or boo imports?
Yay.
One import you would like to bring into your collection, no matter what the space it took. Would said none of that really mattered to you? What would it be?
A Parenti.
Not. Thank you, God, bro.
Those things are sick.
To mist or spray a ball python, or to never mist or spray a ball python?
Missed.
Yay sports or boo sports?
Yay sports.
Other than mixed martial arts, favorite sport of all time?
So boxing isn't included. Nah.
Boxing would be a sport, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're
But so non-fighting sports. Soccer.
soccer.
Yeah, soccer. I've played soccer my whole life. I
Favorite-
don't follow it as much, but yeah.
Favorite club?
As far as the US goes,
No, like in
general.
European too. Yeah.
Oh, Borussia Dortmund.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Big flexor or no flexor?
Big flex.
Yeah,
No, I
let's
don't.
go.
Yeah.
Steak or fish?
Steak.
Yay alcohol or boo alcohol?
Yay alcohol.
Favorite alcohol beverage?
Beer.
he's a real Mexican. Any Mexican beer, this guy's in, bro. I'm telling you, locked in. You like IPAs or no?
Yeah, I
Yep.
drank IPAs for a while.
West Coast rap, East Coast rap.
West Coast.
Favorite West Coast rapper of all time?
Easy.
Damn, that's what's up. Little word association. First thing to come to mind. Milk.
Titties.
Reptile Super Show.
Pomona.
Coco.
Husk.
Mites.
Burnham.
First time super door for tick breeder.
Good luck.
I don't know why I thought that was so funny. Did I say stuck shed yet?
No.
Stuck shed.
Soak.
Instagram trolls.
Fuck them.
If you had to eliminate one social media platform, is it going to be Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
Let's go, dog. You had mad people tapped in for you tonight. All your love
Yeah.
and support was in the live chats. What do you have to say to everyone out there looking to see you win and looking to see you grow, Diego?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody tapping in. I appreciate all you guys and the support that I've got. You know, shout out to all my homies that tapped in. I can't really look at the live chats right now, but I appreciate you all. You know, thank you for being here. You know, just I'm glad to meet everybody. If I ever meet all of you in person, you know, don't be afraid to say hi, even though I'll probably be like, "Who are you?" I'm not a big person on Instagram or anything like that, but I'm always down to meet new people and talk, man.
And I will say you could catch Diego at any Reptile Super Show that I'm at for sure, mainly Pomona, Anaheim. But also, man, like you never know. Like I said, I do plan on getting things going again as far as traveling. And if that's the case, I'm looking to bring my guy along with me. And so you'll be able to meet, you know, Diego hopefully at other shows, man. But it's
Hell
a
yeah.
wrap for this episode. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me on,
Honestly,
man. Appreciate you.
Your support is fucking so genuine, and I'm very lucky to have it. And again, guys, thank you so much for tapping in. I do want to say, though, be ready for tomorrow because we are going to continue more monitor talk with
Hell yeah.
two of my favorite tree monitor breeders in the game, okay? Shout out to Brian Susan and the homie Cody Cope. But be ready for a legendary tree monitor Tuesday going down. Are you going to miss Fat Snake Tuesdays?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think
miss
I should
them.
maybe do a little back and forth? Like maybe 1 week tree monitors and go back to Fat Snakes the next day?
I mean, I
Or
love tree,
next week.
I love tree monitors, so the more the better. But yeah, you can sprinkle one in every now and then. I can't see anybody being mad about that.
Well, let's get a little sprinkle dinkle and see what happens. But we're calling it a day on this episode. Thank you so much for all the love and support. I'll see you guys at the top, and I'm out. Cheers.